Welcome to the Sustainable Success Show, where we share real-world ideas, strategies, and systems to help you build success that lasts in business and life. Each episode delivers practical insights you can apply immediately without burnout, chaos, or short-term fixes that don't scale. At the foundation is emotional intelligence and effective communication, how you lead yourself and how you connect with others across personalities, generations, and cultures, because that's where trust, engagement, and performance are created. I'm Christopher Salem, your host, and this is where sustainable success becomes your competitive advantage. Welcome to the Sustainable Success Show. I'm your host, Chris Salem. Hope everyone is having a great week. Again, if you are new to our show, you found us here at Sustainable Success, either on our YouTube channel at Christopher R. Salem, which is now new under our new format, and as well as Apple, Spotify, Amazon Music, and of course, iHeart as well. We encourage everybody that is new to us to also follow us on our Facebook page at Sustainable Success 2017. There we've had many of our great guests sharing their words of wisdom and insights to help elevate you and your business to the next level. As you know, we cover a wide variety of different content each and every time to help you and wherever you are on a personal, team, or organizational level to do what is best to create impact. And our show is being brought to you today by Alumni Direct. Alumni Direct is a social media community platform dedicated to bringing alumni together from all different generational types and an opportunity to meet new people for the first time. Now, it is a membership program taking out all the noise out of social media. You get to generate genuine and authentic relationships with the people you choose to interact with. If you'd like some more information about Alumni Direct, check them out at alumnidirect.com. That's alumnidirect.com. Well, we're going to be talking about a subject today that really is near and dear to my heart. As many of you know, I wrote an international best-selling book over 10 years ago called Master Your Inner Critic, Resolve the Root Cause, Create Prosperity. And what is going to be shared today is going to tap into a lot of that. Even though this show is geared more towards women, it's also going to be for you men as well. And we have the right person to be doing this today. So we're going to be talking about healing generational patterns before they are passed on. And we're going to be here with Shree Rego. She is a motivational speaker and a women's coach with over 10 years experience helping high-achieving women and working mothers lead themselves first while raising great humans. She supports women in breaking self-sabotage cycles, regulating emotional triggers, and rewriting generational patterns, all while maintaining their identity and ambition. Shree's work centers around raising confident, resilient humans and preserving connection, respect, and trust into adulthood. And she integrates emotional leadership, personal growth, and grounded spirituality into practical, real-world tools for modern motherhood. And without further ado, we welcome Shree Rego to the show. Shree, how you doing today?
I am doing great. You make that introduction sound so lovely.
Oh, you're
It makes
welcome.
it feel so much like, yeah, really
Bro,
works.
you are very special. We are so honored to have you on this show. What we'd love to learn from you, Shree, to start off as the foundation, what you're going to talk to us about today, especially for our women listeners, is this concept of emotional. I mean, again, generational patterns that we repeat generation to generation. These could be from self-limiting beliefs, which a lot of times people have an idea what that is, but really may perhaps don't. You and I had a little side discussion about that. But sharing your backstory or the foundation to set the foundation, what you're going to be sharing with us today.
Yeah, thank you. It's so important. And we were just talking about, there are so many people that still are not aware or of how important it is to understand what that inner chatter and what those patterns that we inherited from more than one generation sometimes. It's just passed on. And then I fortunately, I had my children later in life, so I had done a lot of inner work. But I realized when I had them, stuff came up like patterns and
Oh, yeah.
triggers and the way I would react. And I was like, okay, I will not raise my children with the negative beliefs that I know I inherited that were there. So I did a lot of work on that. And I am really proud of, and something that came up, the stuff like probably 5 years ago. My children are now 23 and 25. And I thought, you know what? Everyone's a work in progress, but I have really great humans. Like something really worked. And it was, I really started diving into what did I change? What did I do differently? Why do they have good work ethic? Why are they respectful? Why are they compassionate? And I think that's what every parent wants, set aside the many various things that may happen with our children and whatever um, issues they may have. We can all raise humans that are respectful and that have these qualities that are so important to us, but not if we keep on repeating the patterns that were brought down to us and the negative chatter that goes on in our head. And really, it's the reactions. It's the things that trigger us that we have to catch and understand that our children lead from our emotions and from our examples. So if, they say something and we're screaming or or there's a money thing, they say, I want that toy, or can I have, and we're like, all of a sudden it just triggers something. Well, guess what? That's not their fault. That's something that we inherited that we have to fix. So yeah.
I can relate 100% because growing up in a household where there was a lot of chaos and and how you communicated was through yelling and screaming, and that's all I knew, and God, if I was like you, if I had children younger, it might have not have been a good story. And thank God I had gone through this process of change to be the parent to break this cycle. I love what you shared there. What can you be sharing with women here today that right now have maybe like they've heard of self-limiting beliefs, yet they don't realize how these triggers keep activating them and they keep repeating these patterns through different habits, how they communicate, how they behave, their attitude, how they react versus respond, and maybe where they procrastinate and not take action, that type of thing.
Oh my God, that's a loaded
Yes.
question. You just
And
said
feel free to
something
unpack that any way you like.
really important words there. So the first thing is awareness. And, a lot of people do not want to do that part of the work. And it's not always easy. And anything that is worthwhile takes some work. And you have to just like, what was there something I thought of just the other day? I'd have to look at my notes. Oh, it was really. I'm like, oh, I've got to expand on that more. And just stop winging it. Like, don't wait. What is winging parenting doing for you or for your children, right? And so, okay, awareness is really important. And most often, especially if you're a young mom and you're working, you're just getting through the day, right? And you're just like, I just got to get through this and get, then there's dinner and then there's getting them to bed and like, okay, I did it. But did you really accomplish what's important if you're just getting through the day? So, okay, awareness would be the first thing. There was something else you said. I wish I wrote it down. And, ugh, oh God, Chris, repeat the
Wait,
question if you can.
like how, how we communicate to ourselves and others, our behavior, our attitude, how we
Oh,
react versus respond, that type of
that's
thing.
it right there. Yeah. And that's the other thing, to not react. And I grew up with everyone always reacting. And I'm always really sensitive when I speak about this because I want to be respectful to my parents because they were wonderful. They're both passed and they're wonderful people. And they did the best that they could with the tools and skill set that they had. Right. However, there was major verbal abuse growing up in my childhood, and so much stress and so much financial stress and limiting beliefs that I was so unaware of as a teenager and even in my 20s. So it's really important that you catch the thoughts that are going through your head when something upsets you, when you have this reaction, and you stop and you're like, okay, why is that bothering me? Like, that's not something that my child did. Most often it's not. It's something that triggers us. So responding before reacting is so important. And it is a process that takes understanding and work. But really understanding what limiting beliefs are, because, we know this, and anyone it studies mindset work knows that, 95% of what's going on in our head is just constant background noise, right? And when you wake up in the morning, think about what's the first thing you're thinking about, because that is going to set the tone on how you're presenting yourself to your children, how you're dealing with your day, and how you're leading your day. And when you start to be aware of that is when you can stop and you can then realize you don't want to react to something that triggers you.
I love that. And so what would you share, like, for, the women listening, like, they have to be aware, obviously. They have to be aware that, okay, maybe they're not sure what they did, or maybe they might understand what the trigger was, but they're not sure what they did and the impact that it's having on their loved ones, their spouse, their kids. It could be their business colleagues, maybe someone that works for them. It does not matter. But, like, with that, like, what if you could give maybe some insights to what these beliefs could be, and what and how they subconsciously are driving their lives and how they do things, but not to a level that they could, had they be if they are now aware what they can be doing to get rid of the things that are not serving them versus the things that will.
Well, I guess the first question is ask yourself, what is your intention? How do you want to how do you want to be at work? What is the outcome you want? How do you want to present yourself? How do you want to be as a colleague, coworker, leader? How do you want to be as a parent? And how do you want your children to, who do you want them to grow up to be? What characteristics, what kind of integrity? And then where are you self-sabotaging? And usually when you're self-sabotaging anything, your own goals, um, if you are just going through the day and you're like, okay, I'm gonna do this, and then you don't, there's a pain point. There's something that's going on. There's something there's a resistance that's happening. And the only way to find that resistance is to sit with it and question it. And this is where the work is. And, often when I have clients that are really making progress, and then all of a sudden they stop and they're like, well, I can't, I'm too busy, or I'm procrastinating. Like, well, there's a reason, because there's something that's coming up that you don't want to deal with. And I have to say this is where the freedom, this is where everything gets better when you unpack that. So certain things could be, if you're financially stressed, I had this one time, I was probably 13 years old. I'm going to date myself. Levi's were the big thing. You were really cool if you had a pair of Levi jeans. And I remember I was going to go shopping with my girlfriend, and I asked my dad for money to buy Levi jeans. And it turned into this humongous fight because it triggered him, because he probably didn't have the money at the time, or didn't, whatever the reasons were. But that was buried in me forever. So I felt that I wasn't worthy of having a pair of Levi jeans. And it started this whole trajectory of all my money stories that I told myself, right? So that could be something that happens with, whether it's at work or with your children, like if it's a money story, or maybe it's just that someone made fun of you when you were in sixth grade and you didn't, and you were embarrassed. There's so many, and they sound so simple. The thing is, they're not simple. They're staying with us, and they're creating that belief. Or my dad would always say, well, money doesn't grow on trees, or, so I grew up thinking money was a struggle. Money had to be a
It's always a
struggle.
lack.
Yeah, there was this
A
a
lot.
scarcity mindset that was, my
Yeah.
parents grew up in the Depression era. So, and that's very common for a lot of people in certain generations. But so I would tell women, understand, like, what's coming up for you when someone mentions something that's important to you, or that you feel you keep on brushing under the rug. What are you telling yourself? It's sometimes really hard for people to figure out what those limiting beliefs are.
Yeah.
And that's why so it's really just, I'm an advocate for journaling. It's one of the steps I give my clients, and people roll their eyes, and there's different ways to journal. And I had a friend the other day that said, I know I should be journaling. I don't want to journal. And I said, well, what's stopping you? I don't know. I said, well, maybe you're thinking that you have to write all the bad things that are going on in your life right now, and you don't want to deal with it. Why don't you just write some awesome things? She was like, oh, oh, I could completely switched it, right? So, journaling, I'm going on a tangent here because I do that, but yeah.
I love what you said about journaling. I'm a big advocate of journaling because you can never if you try to keep everything in your head, you that's not a good place to keep things. And this is where the mind can play tricks and turn something, something that we think is really worse than it really is into something even worse because we let it dwell. But it's like taking out that trash. If you take out the trash, you got to take out these thoughts that are weighing you down on paper. So now you can see it from a third party perspective. You're not just seeing it from your lens. You can now see, oh my God, could that be what's getting in my way? I know for me, when I did that, when people asked me to journal back in the day, I said, are you crazy? It ain't going to help me. I can't, I don't even like writing. So me doing that, that was the last thing on my mind. But when I started doing it, I began to see what was getting in my way because I learned to see it for what it is, not what I would always think it should be when I kept it in my head.
It's a game changer, and it's
Yeah.
so underrated by those that don't believe the importance of it, and
Yeah.
it's what I require. It's just so you just said it, like, everything in your head, that's how we got those limiting beliefs, and
Yeah.
that's how we created those stories, and what people need to realize is they are just stories, they're not true. Like, you can change them at any moment, and the minute you change those stories, like, I grew up, you know, with all um the stories that I felt because of how my father spoke and my mom. And when you change those stories, you're changing them for the next generation. So my children grew up hearing, how worthy they were and the positive aspects. And I had to recognize when something was triggering me and I wanted to react because believe me, as a single mom, it was really easy to want to scream fast, and I had my son was that child that was like always, but why? But why? But why? And and here so it's like I
Yeah.
had to
You asked a lot of questions.
I had to really unpack, okay, you need to calm down. And it if you want to raise good humans, it's up to us to do the inner work. And when it becomes really fun, truthfully, because you see how easy it is, you can change something and wow, all of a sudden things get easier. I mean, they really can. Things will remain chaotic when you don't address them, when you just let the loops keep going and going and going.
That's so true. So true. Just powerful insights you're sharing. I hope listeners, you're listening, especially the women, even the men too. This is great information that Shree is sharing. Shree, what would be some other things that you can share that that women should know? Again, it's always got to take that first step. You're going to do all these things overnight and change everything. It's a process. But what would be like what you talked about awareness, to, first knowing what these triggers could be and these beliefs that could be now getting in your own way of your own relationships, personally, professionally, anywhere in between. Anything else that you feel is really necessary? You talked about journaling. Anything else that you feel women should be now aware of? And then, taking that first step to start with one thing to start moving forward.
Well, I mean, I talk about a lot of things that people they hear all the time: journaling, meditation, calming yourself down, intention setting. I was an advocate for intention setting. And that is very different than goal setting because if you set a goal and you achieve that goal, then it's done. And okay, what next? But intention setting is more about the integrity and the quality of your life and the people that you love. So I set intentions for my children, for myself, and that also brought me extreme peace because I had something to hold on to that I knew I was changing and I was working towards. I really learned how to meditate. And I know that that is, again, something that those that don't want to do it will say, I can't, it's too hard. It took me 10 years to really perfect it, but I started slow and it has changed my life. Um, I had mornings as a single mom where you wake up, you think about everything that's going on. You get the lunches ready, you get the kids ready, you get out the door. I had to get myself ready. I had to go to an office job at the time. And to be able to meditate and journal and do all those things, one would say, I don't have the time. I made it a point to just give myself 10 minutes in the morning. And once that changed, it's like it just kind of over time. So I would really say to women that you have to be patient and know you can't change something overnight. And if you really want to raise great humans, what is most important to you? What are the 5 qualities that you want for your children? And really more importantly is what is the relationship you want with them? Like I wanted my children to trust me and to be able to come to me because I could not have that with my parents. I wanted them to know that I was the person they could go to and still be the mom and the disciplinarian, but the friend, if that makes sense. There's a balance there. And I gained that, but I gained that because I had to I had to break the patterns that like I was so uncomfortable going to my parents for any advice, and I didn't want that to happen with my children. So ask yourself, what is it that you want to be differently than what you had? And how can you make that change? Um, Procrastination and self-sabotage is a huge one that comes up. And that is just, I will say again that you have to really understand your body is conditioned to do the same thing. So that's a generational thing too, because if you were raised a certain way, it's going to take a lot of time for your body to be comfortable. Like you may have like a money story and something comes up and you can feel it in your chest and you can feel the stress. That doesn't go away. That takes time
Your flight feeling constantly. Yeah.
all the time. And I had that as a single mom that was raising children financially on my own. So it came up all the time and I had to work through that. Yeah.
That's so true because the body always keeps score, so to speak. It's always giving you signals and, that a lot of times we don't read into it properly. But yeah, when and I love what you said about the meditation because it took me a long time to get into a meditative state. When I was born with ADHD, so someone sitting, somewhere and meditating, that was like I go, this isn't happening, right? And lo and behold, I've been doing it now for over 26 years, and it took me a while to get into but I never stopped. I kept doing it, even though I wanted to quit. I kept doing it, and eventually I got it. And now I've been doing it for years. So now I can get into a meditative state relatively very easy. But it took time, like you said. You got to be patient.
Yeah, I mean, the methods that I've used, I learned either in workshops and I mean, I had friends that made fun of me because I was a self-help book person. I loved every book imaginable on psychology and on brain and neuroscience, and it benefited me, so obviously it was worth it. But I over the years, adapted certain things, and then I just transformed them into what was best for me and developed my own system that I coach my clients through. And, I don't know if I can say this on the air, but like I always tell people, you have to sit with your shit in order to get it done.
Feel free.
And that is, that's the awareness. And, I have such resistance sometimes with women that say, I don't have the time to do what you're telling me to do. And my answer is like, how long do you want to keep going like this? Like, if you want to see a change, you have to make that change. And it's just a process. Yeah,
Love what you just said there because the choice is the pain great enough that you don't want to be where you are anymore, or or that you don't want to change. You got to pick one or the other because otherwise nothing changes. It's going to be the same regardless. So which pain is great enough? If it's that you don't want to be where you are, then you just muscle through it and just do it.
and it's just going to remain the same or get more chaotic, quite truthfully. And
Ah,
then it just, more things get thrown at you. I think the biggest thing is I don't think there's a parent out there that doesn't want a great relationship with their children and doesn't
absolutely.
want great humans, And I was getting ice cream with a friend the other night, and a mom had a 2-year-old little toddler, and is outdoors in a public place, and The toddler was having a full-blown temper tantrum, and I mean, it was a bad one. And I wasn't paying attention to the toddler, I was paying attention to the mom, and I wanted so badly to go help her, but it wasn't my place, and I thought that could have been fixed in seconds, quite truthfully. Now, we don't know every child's story, we don't, but, I watched her take the child and walk to the car and then put the child down. The child ran back and started pulling the temper tantrum again 3 times. And the point I'm making is it was the mom's energy and the mom's inability to recognize what she needed to change. It could have completely changed the whole situation. I felt bad for the child because she was exhausting herself. The mom was embarrassed. The mom was frustrated. And that's an example of, okay, what can I do with my parenting to change so that my child is not, number one, not respecting me, not knowing how to behave in a public place, and two, my child is going to be like absolutely a nervous wreck all the time, or think that there's so many different things that go into that, right? And that's where you want to bring awareness and say, okay, what could I have done differently, and what's going on with me? Like, what did she inherit? How was she raised? It's yeah.
Wow. Wow, this has just been powerful, powerful stuff that you shared here. We got to definitely have you back on a future show to continue this conversation. I know we're towards the end of the show, and I want to make sure the audience gets a chance to get in contact with you. First, I want to thank you personally, as well as the rest of the team here at Sustainable Success, for being with us here to share these insights to help so many women that listen to this show, as well as men as well. And that could definitely benefit from your personal journey and then what you do to help people in this particular area. What is the best way that people can get in contact with you? Anything that you're up to and anything you like to offer the audience?
Sure. My website is shreerego.com, Rego. My Instagram is Shree Rego. I have Facebook as well. It's just all my name. I right now have a course going out on the Working Mother's Guide to Raising Good Humans. Really self-paced, inexpensive course that I think will be extremely helpful for anyone that just, if anything, today touched upon something that they want to work through. I also do one-on-one coaching, helping women manage the guilt of being a working mom and raising your children and being able to do both, because I did do both and I loved doing both. So yeah, that's and various other things, but right now that's probably the main thing that is going on.
And we'll make sure that Shree will have all your contact information. It will be in the show notes. All the distribution channels that people listen to this episode will listen to your episode each and every week. All of that will be there. We encourage everybody to reach out to Shree, connect with her. This is a very, very important area, folks. I can't tell you what she shared today is so valuable, because it's not only for you and your children. You're now creating the legacy now for generations to come in your family tree, that we can break these patterns of dysfunction and dependency, all of the above, when it starts with you. And we encourage everybody again to reach out to Shree, to get in contact with her, where you can share some more insights, where she can be more of service and value to you. Shree, thank you again for taking time out of your schedule to be with us here today.
Thank you, Chris, so much. Thank you.
Thank you. And listeners, we want to thank you each and every week joining us here at Sustainable Success. Again, we are committed to bringing in subject matter experts like Shree in each and every week to help elevate you and your personal success to the next level. If there is content you'd like to see on a future show that we have not covered, feel free to reach out to our team here at Chris@sustainablesuccess.net. That's Chris@sustainablesuccess.net. Till then, everybody, have a great rest of your week. We'll see you here next Friday, 12 noon East Coast time, 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Till then, take care.